The Canada-US border is the world's longest international boundary, nearly 9,000 kilometers of shared land, history, and economy. This border is not just a geographical demarcation, it represents a deep-rooted connection between two nations. It's not just a line, it's a lifeline enabling the daily flow of goods, people, and ideas. The border facilitates a dynamic exchange that fuels both economies and enriches cultural ties. Every day, hundreds of thousands cross for work, family, or travel, and billions in trade move seamlessly. This constant movement is a testament to the interdependence of the two nations. The Ambassador Bridge, linking Detroit and Windsor, is the busiest crossing, funneling a huge share of trade. This bridge alone handles a significant portion of the economic activity between the two countries. This border powers industries and supports millions of jobs on both sides. From automotive factories to tech companies, the economic impact is vast and far-reaching. But its importance goes beyond economics. The border is a conduit for human connection and cultural exchange. Families, students, and tourists move freely, creating a shared North American identity. This freedom of movement fosters a sense of unity and shared purpose. The open border is a symbol of trust and cooperation, something many take for granted. It stands as a testament to the strong diplomatic relations between Canada and the U.S. Imagine if it suddenly closed. The impact would be immediate and profound. The consequences would be immediate and severe, disrupting everything from supply chains to personal relationships. The seamless flow of goods and people would come to a halt. It would force both nations to rethink security, trade, and diplomacy overnight. The ripple effects would be felt across various sectors from business to education. The open border is essential to the stability and prosperity of the continent. It underpins the economic and social fabric of both countries. Its closure would be a shock to the system, revealing just how vital this connection truly is. The disruption would highlight the deep interdependence that has developed over decades. The easy exchange that defines the relationship would vanish. The convenience and freedom that people have come to rely on would be lost. The border is more than geography, it's the foundation of a unique partnership. It represents a commitment to mutual benefit and shared values. Its openness is a testament to decades of peace and mutual benefit. The border has been a symbol of cooperation and goodwill for generations. Closing it would threaten the very fabric of life in both countries. The impact would be felt in every community, highlighting the essential nature of this international boundary. Imagine waking up to a world transformed overnight. Canada has closed its border bridges to the U.S., and the news flashes across every screen. The headlines are everywhere, and the reality sets in with a jolt. The familiar flow between two nations has come to a sudden halt. The constant hum of traffic over the Ambassador and Peace bridges vanishes, replaced by an eerie silence. Where there was once a steady stream of cars and trucks, now there is only stillness. Concrete barriers and police tape transformed these busy gateways into impassable walls, cutting off the lifeline that connected communities on both sides. Trade halts in an instant. Trucks loaded with auto parts, fresh produce, and essential goods form endless lines, unable to cross. Supply chains fracture, factories grind to a stop within hours, and workers are sent home with no answers. Supermarkets begin to empty as shipments are delayed or canceled. Shoppers find bare shelves where their usual groceries once were, and uncertainty grows with every passing hour. Travel plans evaporate in a moment, business meetings, long-awaited vacations, and family reunions are all canceled. Airports grow quiet and terminals sit empty as flights are grounded. Airlines scramble to reroute flights while border communities, once closely knit, are suddenly split in two, their daily rhythms disrupted. In places like Sault Ste. Marie, daily life is upended. Jobs vanish overnight, students are stranded far from home, and even simple errands become impossible challenges. The closure isn't just an inconvenience, it's a rupture in the routines and relationships that define border life. Families are separated, friends can't visit, and communities feel the loss deeply. The world's friendliest border, once a symbol of trust and cooperation, becomes a stark and unyielding divide. The sense of freedom and connection that people took for granted is replaced by isolation, anxiety, and a profound sense of uncertainty about what comes next. For millions, the closure is not just a headline, it's a personal crisis, touching every aspect of their lives and reshaping their futures. The impact is immediate, visible, and deeply felt in every empty street, every silent factory, and every family kept apart. The bridges, once powerful symbols of unity and cooperation, now stand as stark barriers, silent witnesses to a world suddenly divided. The border closure hits hardest at the human level. Nurses from Windsor can't reach Detroit hospitals. Patients and colleagues are left in limbo. Families are split. Grandparents miss births, weddings, and funerals across a river they once crossed in minutes. Video calls replace hugs, but the emotional toll lingers. Small businesses in towns like Plattsburgh and Niagara Falls lose their lifeblood as cross-border customers vanish. For many, it's not just lost income, it's lost dreams and security. The closure breeds resentment and suspicion, eroding decades of trust. Community events, sports, and simple greetings across the water disappear. The world's longest undefended border becomes a line of division, scarring relationships and communities. If Canada unilaterally closed its border bridges, it would send shockwaves through both nations. A figure like Donald Trump would react instantly and aggressively, likely escalating the situation. He'd blast Canada on social media, using his platform to stir public outrage. Calling the move a betrayal and an attack on American workers, he would rally his base. Rallies and press conferences would follow, demanding retaliation, tariffs, counter-closures, and more severe measures to protect American interests. The U.S. government, under immense pressure from all sides, would adopt a hardline stance to avoid appearing weak. Political discourse would polarize, creating a deeply divided nation. With little room for negotiation, diplomatic efforts would stall. The crisis would become a tool for political gain, overshadowing the real issues and concerns of the people. Trump would use the moment to reinforce his America First message, rallying his supporters. Arguing that the U.S. can't rely on allies, he would push for more isolationist policies. Trade agreements like USMCA would be called into question, casting doubt on future cooperation. The fallout would extend beyond economics, fueling isolationism and deepening mistrust between nations. The political firestorm would make resolution even harder. As tempers flare and divisions grow, the damage to the relationship could last for years, leaving a lasting impact on both nations. The economic shock would be immediate and brutal. The auto industry, reliant on cross-border parts, would grind to a halt, plants in Michigan and Ontario shutting down within hours. Tens of thousands of workers would be furloughed, and the ripple would hit suppliers and related industries. Food supply chains would buckle, produce rots at the border, supermarket shelves empty, and prices soar. Canadian and American retailers would face shortages, and construction projects would stall without Canadian lumber. Energy grids and pipelines could be disrupted, threatening power supplies. No sector would be spared. The pain would spread nationwide. Consumer confidence would collapse, and stock markets would tumble. A recession would loom on both sides of the border. The closure would reveal just how interdependent and vulnerable both economies are. The crisis wouldn't stay in North America. Global supply chains would unravel. International companies with operations in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico would be thrown into chaos. Financial markets would panic, with investors fleeing U.S. and Canadian assets. Currencies would fluctuate wildly, creating new headaches for exporters worldwide. Allies in Europe and Asia would be forced to pick sides, straining diplomatic ties. International organizations would scramble to mediate, but with limited success. The Western alliance would be weakened, and autocratic regimes would seize the moment to tout their own stability. Images of empty shelves and border chaos would be broadcast globally as proof of Western decline. The crisis would damage the reputation of democracy and embolden rivals. The world would watch as two close allies turned adversaries, shaking the global order. The pain of a closed border would eventually force both countries back to the table. Quiet diplomacy would replace public posturing as leaders seek a way out. Reopening the bridges would be the first step, but trust would take years to rebuild. Both nations would need to reaffirm their commitment to cooperation and dialogue. Business and community leaders would work to strengthen ties and prevent future crises. New mechanisms for conflict resolution would be created within trade agreements. The lesson would be clear. The border is a shared asset, and its openness is a strength, not a weakness. Disagreements are inevitable, but closure is never the answer. The bridges are more than steel. They're built on shared history and values. Working together is the only way forward for both nations.